Alright, so I got this combat plane from Mike and Sam Londke at the Nats, and I think it was pulled out of the trash, but was in pretty good shape. Has this broken rib, and I'm going to start out by fixing that broken rib and try turning this combat plane into a trainer for my grandkids. So first what I did is I drilled a hole in the end through the wingtip all the way through so that I could stick a screwdriver in and push on that rib and get it glued back on to the little triangular brace in there. So there are a couple holes torn in the covering on the top and the bottom in the section just adjacent to this broken rib. So I'm going to try and I'm trying to do this without removing all the covering. So I don't have easy access to every place in the wing, but anyway, let's put some CA glue in there and see how this turns out. So I'm going to try and just drip some CA in through the crack where the covering's already torn, and see if I can hit the right spot where I want the rib glued. So got some CA dripped in there, and tip it this way so it runs down that rib. Push on the rib to get it, see if it'll stick to that. Looks like I dripped a little CA on the inside of the covering too, but shouldn't hurt the way it flies. This is just going to be a kind of a trainer, and Howard Rush showed me one that he did on the video chat the other day, and he used an aluminum tube as a fuselage, and I think I'm just going to use some stuff I have around already so that I can keep working on this. So I have some 3/8 square stock that I'm going to use that, I think, instead for a fuselage. So you'll see that later when I get to that part. Okay, so this is the combat airplane that I'm turning into a trainer plane for grandkids. And so the elevator of this combat plane got hit with a propeller, and half of it was gone. So I cut a nice straight edge and piece of balsa, and so now I'm covering I got the bottom side covered, and now I'm going to cover the top with the monocoat. And then I cut a piece for mounting on the airplane so that I can extend the tail back. I also built up a rudder out of scraps some scrap balsa. So get those covered with monocoat and then get it on the plane. I also built up just glued some plywood to a 3/8 square piece of poplar, and I'll have this attached so that it can attach to the combat plane, and then it's long enough so the tail can go on the end of that. So that basically, that 3/8 poplar is my fuselage. Once I get the tail all covered with monocoat and glued on to this 3/8 poplar, then I can put it on just set it on the plane and figure out where the balance is. I can just move this forward or backwards till it balances, and then attach it to the plane whenever it balances properly. So there we go. I'll get these tail pieces monocoated, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got the elevator covered and hinged, and covered the rudder both sides. I left this side so that I can glue it to the 3/8 fuselage. So that's ready to go, and so right now I want to glue the tail on. So I think I'm gonna do it with some thick CA, and so I've got the monocoat peeled away where it glues on, so it'll stick. And also on the poplar, I poked some little dents and holes in there with a sharp object so it'll adhere better. So get this attached, so glue it in place here. Make sure it's square. That looks good. Okay, now I gotta recheck the square again, just to double check. Okay, that looks good. Put this heavy battery on there to weight it down. Okay, they're still square, so just let that cure, and then once that cures, then we'll glue the rudder on. Okay, so the elevator assembly is glued on, and that's secured. And so I'm going to remove this battery or weight. And also I had a spacer under here, the thickness of this, so that that's all parallel. So you can see the hinging works. So now let's glue the rudder on. So let's see. I'll put this back under here. That way I have something to space it up off the glass with. I'm going to put it right there so that it's easier to get access to the screw for the push rod screw. So yeah, so put some CA on here and glue this on. Okay, there we go. So this should be perpendicular to the table, but let me check and see how close we are. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So, there we go. Got the tail put on. Motor attached with some plywood bracing. And I just have the ESC, and I'll rubber band the ESC and the battery on just to figure out where my balance point is, and I can move this forward or backward until I get the correct balance point. So there we go, that part's done. Okay guys, so I got the wing mounted to the fuselage stick. I didn't have any 440 bolts that were long enough to go all the way through bottom to top, so I machined a piece of aluminum and tapped that for 440, and so I have two screws going through from the bottom that were long enough to make it through that piece of aluminum, and then I drilled two more holes through the 3/8 poplar and then tapped 440 into the aluminum for those two coming through from the top. So 440 screws holding the wing to the fuselage. And then I decided to put a little brace in the back here. I didn't really want to drill a hole through the poplar back here, because that would be the weakest point where it would probably break. So I just made a little aluminum strap with a couple screws from the sides, and then one screw through the bottom of the wing. Let's see, can you see that? Yeah, one screw through the bottom of the wing that goes into that block and holds that whole assembly together. And then off camera I also made up a push rod. So got the push rod made up and installed, lengthened so that it reaches all the way back to the tail. So let's see if I can zoom out here and so you can get a shot of the whole plane. So there it is, and I haven't tried flying it yet, but just got it all put together, and so see if that works as a trainer for the grandkids. Oh, and it's electric power. Alright, thanks guys, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.